Hey, this is Jeff with Virtue Drums here in Jackson, Michigan. I'm jumping on here today to talk to you about something cool that I just wanted to take note of here, working on this cool old Leedy snare drum from the 1930s. This is a steam bent maple shell. And back in that time frame, George Way was working for Leedy. And if you don't know who George Way is, you should definitely look him up, and you'll find that there's all sorts of innovations that he came up with, designs and things we probably take for granted that he's responsible for. One of those things is visible in an earlier iteration of this is when you have a lug that has those little swivel inserts, which the vast majority of drums today have. He came up with that. So what does that do? That helps things align basically and allows you to take more of like a cast type lug, put this little swivel insert in there to actually take the thread. And the cool thing that he did, this is a little close-up of it here. You can see that it's actually tapped to have a little set screw that's holding it in place. That was when other companies copied that. They went to something more like this. And it's got this spring in there, which creates weird resonance. People did that for decades. If you bring in a drum or you got your own drum, I'd recommend dampening that so that you get rid of that weird ringy harmonic resonance that happens. And then once people finally said, we don't want that, more modern current drums now typically use these little rubber inserts. So that one's in there pretty good. So either plastic or rubber holds in that swivel insert. Okay, so now we realize the spring didn't work, so now we've gone back to something, a little retaining clip thing that can slide into a slot and keep that in place. Okay, so George Way's design was better for sure than at least the springy deal. And then as far as all those designs, the reason that mass-produced drums often use those, in my opinion, is because it's a lot easier to get things aligned that way. You've got a lot more play with this drum. You know, you got this insert that can wiggle around, and so things can splay in or out as needed, so that you don't have to be as precise. I don't believe that that makes them superior to a classic tube lug. This is something like what I use on the drums I build, machined out of solid brass. These are fantastic, super durable. You know, take care of them. You look at old drums that have tube lugs, they're still working just fine. The main reason that these are tricky is because the alignment, when you mount that to the side of the shell, really matters. When you think about your tension rod going down, feeding through the hoop into this lug, you don't have that quite the same wiggle room. It's got to be quite precise in terms of aligning straight up and down. So harder, but overall I think more durable and better. But if you're gonna you know, use a swivel insert for a more cheap mass-produced casting type thing, George Way came up with that. Cool stuff. Let me know if you got any questions. Have a great day, guys.